Hello, welcome to Tip of the Tongue. I'm just going to go through barrier game cards today to get you started in some activities. Again, this is just a few activities I'm talking through. You'll find many more in the manual, okay, for the different age groups. So barrier games in the Tip of the Tongue, in all three boxes, we've got the grid cards, which are like these, and we've got spot the difference and barrier game cards. Now the grid cards, I would always advise you to start with them when teaching barrier games, especially with the younger classes. The younger classes now are divided into categories, so you can use them for categorization as well, but they're perfect for teaching the positional languages such as above, below, next, beside, near, between, and so on. For example, you might want to start, say, with the word under. So all the children have a card, each 30 in each pack, they're wipeable. You might say, what's under the boot? What's under the orange? What's under the dog, what's under the tractor, and so on, until they become confident with using the word under. And again, you move on then with above, beside, next to, and so on. So once they have a good understanding of the language, which can take a long time, then you're ready to move on to your other barrier game cards. Another activity that you can do with the grid cards here is to try and move from one side of the grid to the other side through given instructions. Because barrier cards, these games are perfect for questioning, information giving, listening, following one-step, two-step, three-step instructions, and questioning through clarifications. These are all skills that the children can develop just through barrier games. So to get from one side to the other, the teacher might give instructions. Okay, everyone begin on the apple, move down to the bananas, move across to the hat, move up towards the boot, move across the elephant, and down to the down two boxes. Maybe just say, where have you finished off now? And everyone should have finished on the same picture. Now you don't always have to say move up to the, you can just say move up two spaces, move across to, and so on. Again, as they move through the years, you're going to have no categories in the boxes to help you, and we're looking more at languages as on the right and on the left, and talking about columns and talking about rows. So like what is in the second column on the third row, and so on. So for, especially with the new language curriculum, moving through the milestones, in one of the learning outcomes, you can move through the milestones from following one-step instructions to two-step instructions, moving on to three-step instructions, and these grid cards are perfect for teaching that, having that learning outcome. For example, you might say put the orange cube on the boot, and the children would do that. Put the blue cube on the bananas, they would do that. When you feel the children are confident, then you can move onwards to giving a two-step instruction. Put the orange cube on the boot and the blue cube on the bananas. And again, then you can move on to three-step, which again can take a while. So the other spot the difference barrier cards. These are where the real barrier element comes into play, where you've got one pupil opposite another pupil, and the barrier is something like a school bag between you. Now it can be two pupils opposite two, where you can put a weaker child with a stronger child to help them get the idea of the game, to help them develop the language, develop question skills, clarification, following the instructions, and so on. So with the spot the difference is typically your spot the difference cards with 10 differences between them, except the pupils won't get to see the cards. Now there's 15 different pairs in each box throughout the school, and pupil A will have one card, pupil B will have the other, and just through questioning and clarification and listening to each other and following instructions, they have to find the 10 differences, which they can mark off in the cards as they are wipeable. Again, excellent for assessment afterwards, for peer assessment or even for teacher assessment, because you can see by looking at the cards how successful the activity was. How did children get on? If a child is a little bit weaker, having trouble with activity, maybe after finding two differences, then you could remove the barrier and they can have a look and say, okay, that's what you got, that's very good. It gives them a self-confidence and so on before moving on, where others will be able to get the 10 differences immediately. And the last barrier game that I'm going to go through with you is the picture barrier cards. And again, there's 30 cards in each pack right through the school. They're all wipeable, and it's the same idea of barrier. So pupil A might have the picture and pupil B might have either a blank grid card or they might have a sheet of paper. And pupil A has to give instructions to pupil B on what to draw. So it's basically giving descriptions, giving information, and again you've got reflection at the end and assessment to see how they got on with it. So it fits in very well if you wanted to have a look and see how does it fit in with the new language curriculum. I would put it under the element of understanding, and it can go into the learning outcome of acquisition and use of vocabulary, because you're learning the new positional language. It can also go into the learning of demonstration of understanding. This is where you move through the milestones of following 1-step to 2-step to 3-step instructions. Also, I think it would fit in very well with the element of exploring and using, looking at number 13 and 14 as your learning outcome, information giving, explanation and justification, and 14 is the description, prediction and reflection, how you get on. So hopefully you found that useful. It might get you started in some barrier games. Thank you very much for listening.